Hello, everyone, and welcome to Quantum Human Revelations. All right, let's get started. So we're all here, I think. So hello, and welcome to this month's Quantum Human Revelations. Are you a high achiever ready to find a different way to approach work and life? And a way that lights you up rather than drains you? Because we're coming into a period now where we really need to be careful of our energy and how we use it. Are you curious about how you can do that with maybe connecting to your unique guidance and to your higher self and to your great vision? Now, each month we connect to different aspects of the enlightenment journey. I have 12 different topics that I cover throughout the year. And I'm making them more obvious now because I didn't emphasize them as much before. But as I've had more downloads on my own work, then I'm just making it more precise as we go. So this month, we're going to explore expansion of consciousness. And we're doing this in order to access new levels of our brilliance and to uncover the next steps of your great vision. Because we're in a time of huge transformation and we're constantly evolving. Now, as a high achiever, one thing that I have seen repeatedly in clients is that we're very good at setting ourselves challenges that are outside of our comfort zone. We're kind of thinking, yes, we want to achieve this, but then we self-sabotage because we think we're not good enough. So just when we get good at mastering something, we then suddenly think, I'm not good enough when you start doing something new. However, you are brilliant. It's just the fact that you haven't seen that you've moved the goalposts, and you always keep moving the goalposts before you even celebrate the wins of what you've already achieved. So this is a common high achiever issue. So I'm really excited that we're going to be sharing information on this today. So in a way, we downplay our brilliance. And I'm kind of like a human lie detector when it comes to people playing small. I can see people's lights. I can see their brilliance. And then when I hear them speak and I hear of their struggles and I hear of what the kind of dreams that are just hovering in the aura around them that they're just not even tapping into, it always feels so sad that this is so close, because our great vision isn't something we're meant to create. It's something we're meant to remember. Now, I say the word great vision, but it's an up-leveled version of soul purpose, and I'll talk about that a bit later. So I'm just going to check on YouTube to see if we're live there. Cool. So I'm checking all the comments on my phone if you see me looking down. So while I'm doing this, just tune into your breathing right now. Just bring yourself present, because we've had some pretty heavy energies over the last solstice. And whether you believe in energies or frequencies doesn't really matter. We've been hit with so many solar flares. It's impacting our nervous systems. It's been making us feel really dense and a bit of a dead end kind of feeling. So it's not just the concept of, oh yes, it's solstice. Based on what I've seen people messaging about and talking about, there is a feeling that we can all sense into. And it's not just, I hear people talk about mental health so much, but in the world that we're living in right now and the craziness that we're in, it's mental strength that we're all drawing on. It might be getting a bit weak, but it is about how we can hold our resilience at this time. So for those that don't know me, I'm Trudy Marie. And I share from two perspectives. I share from my entrepreneurial experience as a founder of a tech startup with a computing and artificial intelligence degree. But also I have connected with my higher self, who's called White Star. And she is a visionary futurist and a divine intelligence guide. And between the two, I'm here to help those who are brave enough to feel called to make a difference. Now, there are three core issues that we're dealing with right now. You are probably walking ahead of your time with no mirror to reflect your value and your brilliance. And therefore, you easily doubt who you are and you let your ideas fizzle out. Two, you've probably chosen, without realizing, the harder path of self-healing and also to heal the ancestral lines of your family, and not just your earthly family. This can be cosmically aligned as well. And as such, you're experiencing all the self-sabotaging that can possibly happen to a person because you're here to fix it. And thirdly, you've locked away your brilliance so deeply inside you that you're struggling way more than you need to. If only you can open up that brilliance, then you won't have to struggle. So I help empower entrepreneurs and change makers to unlock their authentic quantum human potential, to take the reins of their wildest life, because it really is getting wild right now, and start co-creating a new authentic vision and a version of yourself. So like I said, it's an up-leveled soul purpose when we talk about a great vision. And I've asked this question repeatedly on the show, but if you tune into your soul purpose or a soul mission, it kind of feels like it's preordained. You feel like it's something you came onto this planet with. And if you just sense into the feeling of those words, but if you switch over to great vision, as in you're here to, the future is yours to create, it's yours to vision, which is the 2025 energy reading that I shared back in January, then you feel it's more expansive, it's more in your control to choose. And a lot of energy in 2023 was about, now that all of the constraints have been removed, what you'll find is that you are now free to create the future you want. But it's a bit like having been a captive animal. Do you actually know what you want to create? Or do you want to go back to the comfort and the safety of the cage where you had your food and you had everything delivered to you? And that stepping away from that comfort into the unknown and walking boldly is what we're all going through as a metamorphosis right now. So I try to bring this spiritual ascension energies in a way that is suitable for entrepreneurial high achievers to understand. And during this metamorphosis, because we're not just transforming, we are radically changing from human to quantum human. So think caterpillar to butterfly and how different they are. My goal is, or my great vision is, to teach high achievers how to connect with your soul wisdom and your higher self, and to use those skills as a way to navigate imposter syndrome, self-doubt, perfectionism, people-pleasing, and procrastination in innovative ways. It's out-of-the-box ways. And that will bring a certain form of certainty, clarity, and grace, and feeling present in a way that you probably haven't felt before. Because the more alive you feel, the easier it is to dance with life and achieve all your absurdly great things that you're here to do. And that turns into impactful change for your corner of the universe, whether it's big or small. So as a high achiever, our biggest task right now is to strengthen our foundations so that we can fly higher and reach the heights you're meant to be hanging out in. Because most of your struggles are born from being too small or playing too small and being in the wrong room. So it's now time to see what your higher self has in store for you. And part of this is to be an agent of the heart and soul and to create solutions that the world needs in an age where transhumanism may cause more delusions and disconnection. We need more connection. So if that resonates, then get ready. All I ask is that you keep your mind open to infinite possibilities and allow yourself to flip the script on what you think is possible, what your potential is as a human. And the work we do tonight is going to cause ripples, whether you like it or not. You cannot be exposed to these energies and not have something happen. That is the power you hold. That is your sovereignty. So grab your journal, your oracle cards, and a book that might call to you, but also a pen and paper, because I'm going to ask you to draw a circle for me in a moment. And do share your takeaways, because they will be valuable input to our discussion tonight, because we're co-creating tonight. Please drop a hello in the YouTube so that I can see that my comments are working, and we'll get started in a moment. Oh, hi, Charles. Thank you. Yeah, I often go live before it tells me I go live. So that was me just waiting to make sure I didn't start too soon. So everybody can hear me okay? Sounding okay before I get into the details? So if you want to go deeper in any of the topics I discussed tonight, then as part of a kind of development strategy, then consider joining my monthly Quantum Human Masterclasses. I'll give you some details at the end of the session. So the format of this session is, I've broken it down into parts this time. Part one, we're going to start with a summary of the topic and the theme for this month. Part 2, I'm going to talk about what past skills we're going to need to use this month and what outlook we're trying to create. Part 3, I want to share what challenge we're going to face this month and what strength we need to tap into. And they're kind of always two sides of the same coin. And then part 4, I want to share what advice we have and what the next steps are. And I'll also share then how you can work with me if you want to take a more quantum enlightened lightning path to this work. So remember, this session will create change. So I hope you've made peace with change, because we are in an environment where change and pivoting has to be our new normal. So let's just set our intentions for tonight. We usually use the instinct of God as a way to remember, because we think of spirituality as the more powerful part of us, that we're bringing in our spirituality, and that it's like, oh, we are just humans having, or we're spirits having a human experience, makes it feel like the human part of us is weak. The human part, the spirit knew the human part was the strong part. The spirit came to join with the human part because it knew that the combination was what would make it achieve great things. So we have to remember, and kind of like keep prompting us to remember, that even if you're ill, even if your body doesn't seem to be doing what it should, or your mind isn't doing what you should, there is a magic within your body that is all part of a divine plan. And we can tap into that because it's in every cell of your body. It's kind of like time doesn't exist, and aging doesn't exist, and healing is a natural state. Every cell in your body wants to align with the light. It's about then removing all the things that we've put in the way to prevent that from happening. And that makes it a lot easier than thinking, what do I have to do? What do I have to change? What do I have to create? We just have to remove stuff. So the way we've been doing that is by tuning into the, into the instinct of God. And to do that, we tap on the thymus, which is the higher heart. This is an EFT tapping effect. So where the bones are here, if you tap, you'll notice it creates like a vibration. You might hear my voice vibrating. And just take some deep breaths. I tend to prefer an uneven breathing pattern, but people have different ones that work for them. You take in a breath for 4, and then breathe out for 8 with a big sigh whilst tapping. Now, for those that know how to body test, we just allow our body tip forward for a yes and back for a no. And as we're tapping, we just ask that our body tips forward when we reach about 92, 95%. And then we know that we're starting to activate the cells. So as you're breathing, bringing yourself present, just allow yourself to connect into every cell, to the DNA in every cell of your being, into its natural blueprint, into the knowledge that it has to bring you back into your true essence. And just invite it and ask it and guide it with your thoughts to bring you into the best version of you today. And as we go through the session, if you find something I'm saying is something you want to actually include in your life, then just start tapping and just invite that energy in. And I'm finding just doing that really does start triggering healing. And there are kind of quantum physics evidence as to why this works, but I'm not going to go into that tonight. I just want you to believe and to allow yourself to believe that that's all it takes to start the process of healing. Then we have to watch what happens in our external world and then use that as clues to continue our journey. So let me know how that feels. Thanks, Charles. So this is a really powerful practice. It's kind of like seeing the God in how a buttercup knows when it's time to grow, which way up its petals should be, which direction the sun is in, when it needs to close its petals. You know, if a plant can do that, you've got to imagine what power we have as humans as well in the human mind and in every cell of your being. Are we all good? Are we all tuning into that? So last month we were exploring, what do you need to do to step more into your power, to kind of unleash your power so that you can have more influence with what you're here to do? Because power without love is aggression, and love without power is anemic. So we were aiming on how can we tap into power and love and also effortless flow. So that's what we discussed last month. And every moment of the universe is conspiring to help you, but only if you're open to receive. So they were bursts of magic that we spoke about last time. Now, I use different words when I speak because each word has a frequency, and bursts of magic kind of is that. We didn't think it was a eureka moment, but I did wonder if it was like those genius idea kind of moments. It kind of fits into that vibe. This month, we're now looking at how we can use the world to expand our consciousness from dark to light, because there's been quite a lot of denseness and darkness around, to break through the illusions of fear into divine generosity. This is about integrating the dark and the light into a new version of you, where you can feel so alive that you can feel the electric running through your body. You can feel like a new consciousness, just almost feeling like you're a completely different person just by introducing this frequency into your body. And that's what the solstice energies were trying to bring in. And I'll speak to what the issues have been during the solstice in a moment. But the idea of the solstice energies is to help you to awaken your brilliance, your electricness, to become magnetic, to support you in being able to step up and out into the world, offer your unique skills in service of your great vision and in service of the evolution of humanity. Sorry, I should say, I'm not just like, I'm not just saying, yeah, just to go and do your best idea. I want you to change the whole human race. Are we okay with that? Are we all on for that? So we always start the session with some questions just to get a feeling for where you're at. And again, we use body testing for this, or we can actually just let a number appear in our head. So body testing tends to work best when you're present, when you're grounded, and when you're not in fear. If any of those things are out, then they have to be fixed first. So you can always come back and try these questions when you're feeling more grounded and more present. So using body testing, we're going to say for the first question, so put the number as well as the answer so I know which, because sometimes there's a delay and I want to know which questions go with which answer. So question 1 is going to be about how big your consciousness is. So this is why you're going to need a pen and paper. I want you to draw a small like dot in the middle of the paper, and that's you. If you want to put arms and legs on it, feel free, but the dot is you. Then I want you to tune in and just get a sense for where would your consciousness sit around that dot, and then draw another circle to represent the consciousness that you think you have access to consciously, not subconsciously. So it's kind of like your domain of knowledge. So draw a second circle around the dot. But now I just want you to tune in and just imagine your mind's eye can see further than your bubble of consciousness, and that you can see right out into the universe, that you can see the unseen and the seen world. And then I want you to draw where that circle is around your dot. So that's 3 circles we've drawn. The dot in the middle, that's you. And that's kind of like where your mind and your internal consciousness all sits. The next one is the consciousness you have access to that you're kind of using on an average day. And then the third circle represents all the consciousness you still have access to that you haven't even explored. So give me a yes when it's all done. Now, for some that already done this in my membership, it might have changed since the solstice energies came in. Yeah, so you're all saying it's bigger, yeah. Because, we've been working on clearing out the blockages to it, so it should be bigger now, the second one. Or even the first one might be bigger. So when you've got that diagram, then we're going to just work out that bigger circle, the circle on the outside. What percentage, so we're trying to work out if you're the dot, the first circle, as a percentage of the bigger circle, what percentage is your current consciousness expansion at? So that will give you the kind of number to go with that second, the first circle that you've drawn outside of the dot. So what number percentage from 1 to 100? So 100 would be, say, the big circle. And then we're working out where's your middle circle drawing as a 1 to 100 number. I'm also watching people's comments on the screen because I've got some people on Zoom with me. What we got? 57. 83, Marta, or because there's like a 1,83. Okay. So yours has gone up. Anybody else? I know that YouTube's a bit slower, so I'll watch for that coming up while I wait for that to come in. So the second number we want to know tonight is, can I let my brilliance be fully expressed? 1 to 100. I was just looking for my crystal, but I don't seem to have it. Can I let my brilliance be fully expressed? This is number 2, 1 to 100. So question 2, can I let my brilliance be fully expressed? 1 to 100. And then question 3, I am safe to become my true essence. 1 to 100. I am safe to become my true essence. And this is the version of you that is your tapped into your full brilliance. There's no imposter syndrome, no doubt, no need to people please or be a perfectionist. This is just you, raw and unadulterated, out in the world, sort of shining and causing mayhem and creating great things. So am I safe to become my true essence? 1 to 100. And I'm using the word safe because sometimes we don't feel safe to be that. So that's number 3. Am I safe to become my true essence? Getting some good numbers here with the membership. 43, 44. Nice. 63. Yeah, nice. I'm glad those numbers have gone up since solstice. And then question 4. I am open to receiving new talents. 1 to 100. So we had a lot of information coming in with the solstice to try and help us remember our brilliance, which showed up as talents. But are you open to receiving them? 1 to 100. That was easier. 89 and 23. Cool. And then finally, number 5. And this might be the hard one because I've had several conversations on this the last few days. I am valuable just as I am. I am valuable just as I am. Number 5. 1 to 100. So I am valuable just as I am. Because one of the things we speak a lot about in the portal, in the Quantum Human portal, is that you are the product. In the age of AI, where we're going to have to pivot from, like, even already some job titles don't exist now that we did when we were younger, but AI is going to really upset the landscape even more. And even back in 2021, when I first did the Great Vision, Discovering Great Vision course, it said that we need to be able to pivot. Even if you're an astronaut, you need to be able to recognize what skills you have that you can pivot into something else in case space wasn't a thing anymore. The same with finance. If money suddenly disappears off the planet, what are you going to do? What job will you do? Well, money is a resource, so you could become a different type of resource manager. So when you can boil it down from your job title to your skill set and your frequency, then recognize how valuable you are just as you are. Then you're in a better position to handle what's coming in the future. Good. 83, 91, 89. Yeah, fantastic. I'm not getting anything coming through on YouTube. So if anybody's putting comments on YouTube, I'm not seeing them coming up yet. So let's talk about what ingredients we've got coming in this month. So again, we've been bombarded with some huge solar flares this weekend. My phone was pinging with all the aurora possibilities in the UK. And we've said that these solar flares are physically altering the DNA in our body. And I've seen quite a few scientific articles posted on this now. And I think they're even doing a lot with ME, that people with ME and chronic fatigue are more sensitive to solar flares than other people. So the science is catching up now. And effectively, each solar flare is activating your DNA one pulse at a time. Then solstice energies came along, and whether in the northern hemisphere it's summer solstice, in the southern it's winter solstice, but either way the same energy came through. And I was calling it as a solstice carousel of visions. It was like we were being bombarded with a lot of information, different visions, and it kind of relates to Orion as a constellation and what that represents as a metaphor, because we've said that Orion used to kind of absorb the tears, woes, and sighs of humanity. It's kind of like where we as humans think we're not strong enough to handle some of our deeper emotional issues. So we would be happy to hand them over to somebody else to handle for us. However, if you were here when I did the kintsugi for the soul, we said that once you give that pain away, you've got to remember that inside the pain is the piece of gold that you really need. So when we give it away, we're also giving away the gold. And when we then decide to claim back our tears and woes, which are our deep hidden trauma and pain, when we start accepting that we need to process them and the backlog of them, as we go through them one at a time, we're starting then to find the gold, hence the carousel. They've been coming in really quickly. So imagine standing at the center of a carousel and they're all spinning around you. It's been really overwhelming. Now, we've also spoken about supernova energies, because a supernova is kind of like the end of a life cycle of a star and the beginning of a new cycle. And then that again relates to the metamorphosis we're going through, how we're shifting from the human to the quantum human, the caterpillar to the butterfly. And that these energies, and I like Orion because it's our nearest star nursery, it kind of gives that real feeling. And I think in one of the weeks, we did actually go and sort of imagine sitting in that energy to feel what it would feel like if we were surrounded by abundant resources, all of the natural things that we needed to create our manifestations. And it feels quite powerful. So with this kind of solstice energy, what we've found is happening is it's kind of, there's three layers of our vision or our soul purpose or what we manifest. We tend to manifest either based on a personality, which is our pain. So we try to manifest things that remove the pain out of our life. We learn and evolve into being able to deal with soul level aspirations, which might be more to do with your family or more positive aspirations than just simply trying to avoid pain. And what's happened at this solstice is we've finally taken the leap into global aspirations, where we see ourselves, and again, this is in some of the previous episodes, but we see ourselves as here, and that everything that passes in front of us is part of what we're here to offer as a solution, whether it be a problem that we've overcome, a mess that we change into our message, whether it be to do with a blessing that comes our way, whether it's something that annoys us or frustrates us. All of these things that are flying by, again, this carousel spinning around, are there because it's your vision of, it's like all the clues to your great vision. So you're seeing something different to somebody else's. So if it's not the woes, the tears, and the sighs coming up to find the gold, it could be old visions that were too small because they were personality based. You might start seeing some new global visions, like really big dreams, and you might think, oh, that's too big for me. But the thing is, nothing's too big, nothing's too mundane. It's all part, when they fit together into a jigsaw puzzle, that will create your great vision and what you're here to do. And when I first started doing this great vision work, it was really hard to explain to people how this isn't just a job title. This isn't a status. This isn't about achieving money in abundance. This is about really finding your groove, your lane, and having such a conviction to follow it that you don't fall off the path just because somebody doubts you, where you don't change to be like somebody else because they look like they're being more successful than you, that you don't feel that you have to copy somebody because you have your own natural flow of divine intelligence coming through all the time. And that's what the solstice energy has been bringing in. The problem is that it's been a bit harsh. It's come in really quickly and quite intensely. And we are having to learn how to stand in that energy and how to disperse it. So if you imagine you're in the center, but the carousel's moving around you, what I've suggested people do is imagine that the energy is coming in from the top of your head, and to hold your position. We've been using pink granite is a crystal that the pyramids used to use that was known for its electrical properties. So think of this energy as electrified coming in. Imagine that you've got almost like a pyramid around you with a base of pink granite, and allow that to help anchor this energy down into the earth. So then when it passes through your body, because a lot of illnesses is because we can't let this energy and neutrinos and the rays all pass through our body. Once we let that all pass through, then we watch the carousel moving around, and it's almost like we're fishing. We're throwing out these energetic lines, trying to catch the highest vibrational things and pull them towards us. But because we're magnetic, they'll come easily. And at the same time, noticing the negative things and using our thought, canceling them out. Because as energy alchemists, we're not here to throw rubbish away. I like recycling energy. I don't throw things away. If you can recycle a negative vibe, then it doesn't go and live with somebody else afterwards. Just like if you throw your litter on the road, it blows around. We don't throw energy away. We don't let the earth take it away. We are strong enough to transmute it and change it into a positive experience instead. And that's the kind of solstice work that we need to be doing, even for the next week. I know the solstice was on Friday, but the energy is continuing. And if we can keep that process moving, then we might feel less dense from the impact of the energy. And the energy coming around is a mixture of past, present, and future. And for those that know what parallel means, even from the parallel aspects. So the other kind of image I kind of imagine is the game when you go to a fair and you have to catch the ducks coming past. So that kind of, yeah, that kind of made me think of that as well. So the way you do the fishing in terms of the process you apply, you can use this as visualization, but it's all about your thoughts and words. So depending what your thoughts and words are, is how the carousel will be attracted to you. If you're telling yourself negative, I'm not good enough, I shouldn't do this, I'm crap, then you'll be attracting all the negative stuff back to you. That's okay if that happens. You can then just transmute it and imagine it being converted, correct yourself instantly, and then see if you can pull in the positive ones. And if we could all do that on the planet, if we could all deal with our own shadows, all process our own, excuse the language, but shit, then we can then create a better vibe, which means that we kind of clean up the planet's energies by doing our own individual energies one at a time. And then you become the kind of perfect vibration of what we want to create and attract on the planet. Does that make sense? So it's your responsibility to catch the high vibes, to neutralize the old ones, and to reforge anything that's no longer serving you. So you are in full control, not letting go of any of your energy. You're working with it, good, dark, and light. Now, it's important not to fight any of these shadows or darker energies. There's nothing wrong with them. We need both. If we can't see both ends, then we can't see what something is if we don't know what it's not. All you have to do is take them out of action, convert them to light. And all the work that we do whenever we meet any energy, attacking energies or dark energies, the first thing I do is I coach them to give them all new jobs. So whatever your mind is telling you is negative about you, like if it's anger, for instance, then anger is actually a good, positive thing to warn you that something's not going to go the way you want it to go. So instead of anger coming after you've done the mistake, ask it to come as an alarm beforehand so that you can feel the anger coming up before you do it and go, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this. There's something not aligned with this thing. And then you can avoid the whole situation altogether. So it's about really being creative, which kind of fits into this energy of expanding our consciousness to access more out-of-the-box creativity. Now, the other aspect of this, that's the kind of like the personal one. But for solstice, there was a global block, like a mass of negative energies and negative visions blocking the solstice energy coming in. And a group of us got together, as we do in the membership, to kind of deal with that, but we can all now help support that. So just like the carousel, this is about convergence and how we convert the light individually by sending all your love, joy, and high vibrational energy. So that's just about sitting there and creating this wonderful, blissful bubble that everything's working out fine, the earth is surviving, the animals are thriving, we're all learning to do our own unique, very unique and different type of work to meet the new needs of society. And you just stay in that presence as much as you can, and then imagine it kind of going around the planet, dissolving any negative energy around the planet. And if you can do that daily, you will help anchor in the solstice energies. You don't need to be a healer or a guru or understand spiritual work to do this. It's all just simply about where you put your intention. Everything is energy. Where you put your intention can change. So what I was going to say is that if we all did this daily, you can imagine that every single person would converge into the point that needed the healing, and that would allow us then to dissolve the negative energies. And the key to get into your most powerful ray, your most powerful unique vision, is that if you can discover your frequency, like I said before, of what you're here to do, and only focus your vision on what the world from that lens, you will give off a stronger ray than if you just try to go for something like world peace or pleasantness for the animals, you know? If it's something that was in your personal carousel of visions, then that's more powerful than just simply trying to come up with a more generic vision for Earth. So one of the girls, when we do this work, one of the girls came up with pure air. She was just really pulled to purifying the air. That's all. That's enough. If she can focus on pure air for the world, pure air for each individual, each city, whichever way she wants to visualize it and send that to the world, that will be more powerful than if she tried to send world peace. So the more you can tune into your great vision and your unique frequency, the stronger you get. So I was going to suggest we all put a date in our diary, maybe 9 p.m. each evening this week, and we can all just make the time respective to your time zone. So each country can kind of all do it together, and then just send off these rays to this around the world to dissolve the negative energy so that you can help bring in good energies for you, but also good energy to the planet. And it'll only take 10 or 15 minutes. It depends how good you are at visioning. Some people still don't know how to dream big. So, you know, you have to really break through your limits to see the most ridiculously beautiful world you can imagine. So can we all do that? Can we all set a time for 9 p.m. every evening just to start visioning? And this kind of fits into consciousness because in 2021, when I first got told help people and the words were discover their great vision, not purpose and mission, which is very confusing, then I didn't understand the impact until now. But because it takes a while to really get into your flow and get into your uniqueness. So I think once we can really connect to this energy and clear the mess, the energy that's coming in is really quite beautiful. Even though I've been doing these energy readings now since 2020, this is the first time I'm seeing this kind of real enlightenment, golden age type energy coming in. And it has a very strong Lemurian feeling. The wisdom coming in feels very much like Lemurian energy. And that is very much working with the land. I believe there was a technological aspect to their lifestyle, but it didn't overpower their lifestyle. But family connections between humans and animals and the land was all part of that consciousness and that structure. So that's the energy that we can have access to if we're all willing to help out and send our rays and blast that dark energy. So as I said, the symptoms we've all been feeling are dense, overwhelmed, multiple visions, sometimes too quickly, wondering what it's all about, confusion. And when new consciousness comes in, it actually follows the same process as digestion. So if you have digestion issues, it might say that whilst you struggle to digest food, we can also struggle to digest new consciousness and new information. And you may be sensing another calling, another way of stepping up into a higher vibration narrative for yourself as well. Now, the problem is you might feel like you're at the end of the line, that you're up against a brick wall and that things are actually collapsing, but that's just the old structure behind you collapsing. The new one is behind the wall, ready to go. But if we can break this wall down with all of our visions, then it'll be easier for us to pass through. Now, I know people are scared of their own power, and I know that they're probably scared of the unknown. Like I said, if you were the lion in the cage, would you really step out of the cage and go into the wilderness knowing that you're not going to know when your next meal is, or do you stay in the comfort of your cage? So what I want us to do now is imagine you're standing up against a big black stone wall. And surprise, surprise, in your pocket, you have some X-ray glasses. And you put them on and you can see straight through the wall. And what you see the other side is hopefully a beautiful landscape with flowers where it feels light and airy. Now, if anybody's not seeing that, then get in touch and let me know so that I can see what's going on there. But that's what we want. That is not what we want. That is what's the other side. That's what I can feel. That's the Lemurian energy behind the wall. So I'm hoping that if you put on your X-ray glasses and can visualize beyond the wall and you can see that, then you'll be more willing to knock the wall down. And the second bit that I want you to do is to imagine you have some sort of bag full of tools that are going to help you handle the changes that come, because whenever we move forward, it has to have change. Like I said, things have to fall away, new things come in, and we need to learn new skills. But if you can connect to your higher self, all of this will be guided one step at a time. That was the hermit path we spoke about last month. You can be guided one step at a time. You don't need to know the destination. You just need to know the step you're taking now. And in your toolkit, you will also have the tools needed to uncover and neutralize any of your self-sabotaging shadows that are holding you back from fully embracing the version of you that you can become. So are we all ready to take baby steps, even if we don't know where we're going? Break down this wall and just start taking baby steps into a different future. Charles, you might have to explain that. Lemurian consciousness, put it on. The Lemurian consciousness is trying to come in, it's just being blocked. So we're going to vision our biggest vision to unblock it so that we can receive it. And it will activate our brilliance at the same time. So in your toolkit, you've got that method of breaking your self-sabotaging habits, which is kind of like a lion running back into its cage every time it thinks it can't cope. So it's kind of strengthening you up and giving you more resilience to go out and walk into freedom and liberation. And as always, I say, you know, if you're not used to working with these high energies, it can be intense. So do look for some help or get some guidance, because if you try and integrate this energy too much, it's likely to burn you up. And if you haven't been doing the work, there might be quite a big backlog. There's been so many energy updates just this year, let alone all the other years, that you could actually burn yourself up and make yourself sick. There's no rush. You're not behind, you're not ahead. It's all in divine timing. So the theme within this topic of expanding your consciousness is using the world as a catalyst to expand and uncover your great vision and your creativity. So this is part one, where we look at the topic and the subtopic. So the topic is expansion of consciousness, and the subtopic is actually about how we can use the world around us as a way to activate change in our consciousness, which will allow us to see a deeper form of our creativity and also understand the next level of our great vision. And this is about not just accessing the seen world, like books and college and studying. This is also about learning to access the unseen. So this is practicing your abilities to sense energies, to allow instant thought and ideas and instant knowing to come through. It's not just about technological knowledge, it's also about organic, you know. You can learn a lot just from watching a tree or a flower growing, more than you can learn through technology, which can leave you educated but not integrated. It's about comparing scientific and spiritual, because the two do overlap. The language is only what separates it. But it's also about knowing that if there is any limitation in that consciousness, which is your first circle versus the second, it's only because you are blocking yourself, that it's your restrictions that are preventing you seeing it. And again, that's great because that means you can fix it. So the key thing about this subtopic is that it's indicating that we've come to a completion of a major life cycle. So again, like I said, we're ending the age of darkness, moving into the age of light. It's again confirming that with the reading this month. And this means we have the landscape we need now to fully step into our quantum human potential. So you have to start believing, even if things in the past didn't work, if things you tried before didn't work, now it's time to try again, because you were a caterpillar before, and yes, you couldn't fly, even though you were trying to, because you knew you could one day. And now you are the butterfly, and you can fly, and your wings are available. You might have been very good at the caterpillar, struggling and climbing that tree one branch at a time. That's amazing. But imagine what you'd do if you were the butterfly. Imagine how high you could soar, how quickly you could achieve your goals if you could embrace you were a butterfly. So the question is, why stay small when you can become quantum? And what we want to know this month is that the universe is conspiring to support your great vision. Now, the circle that we've just drawn is actually the shape and the symbol for the monadic state. And it represents universal wholeness and consciousness flowing without separation. So this is kind of where you blend with the consciousness. You can imagine the dot in the center bleeding out, that you and the consciousness become one. And that's the kind of state that is a quantum human state. And this will mean that you can access profound new sources of creativity that will lead you to an amazing vision of what you're here to do. And remember, your great vision is an upgrade of a personal aspiration. We moved from personal to spiritual, like a soul aspiration, but now we're upgrading to global. And that really fits in with the age of Aquarius. And what we've seen over the last 3 months, which I've been sharing, is that the more you can tap into your talents and use them in service of humanity, the easier it is to be compensated and to find all the resources you need to achieve it. Now, to prepare for greater expansion of consciousness and to really find out what your great vision is, there's kind of 4 streams of self-development that you have to master. So remember these numbers, and you can put them into the chat as I say them, if you think you're already doing this type of work. So number 1, you are doing work to remember your true soul essence and your authenticity. So put 1 in if you're doing that. And I don't mean doing it by abstract randomness, but you're actually focused and concentrating on removing your self-sabotaging beliefs, your shadows. You're working to expand your consciousness. So you could put 1 in the chat if you're doing that work. Now, as you reveal your true essence, you change, and your great vision kind of balloons out, it gets bigger. So how many of you are also then doing number 2, which is what you're here to do? So we got who you are, and what you're here to do is number 2, which is how you're uncovering your great vision and how you're managing the evolution of your great vision. So we got everybody's doing number 1, fantastic. So how many of you are doing number 2 as well? And the fun with number 2 is it is quite random and very unique in how it's defined. It's not a job title. It's that funny little dream you had last night that made no sense, that if you were to put it together with some other funny dreams, you'd end up doing something really quirky. And you can find yourself moving out of being, I don't know, somebody doing computing. Oh, let's take me. So you can find yourself moving from doing computing and being a tech startup into being a soul guide. And a soul guide who uses her knowledge of being a tech startup and a programmer to reprogram minds now instead of computers. to move from machine learning and language understanding and training machines to think, to coming back and looking at how we can improve the human potential and the human creativity. So that's taken years to evolve. I've been doing this since 2020 when I finally surrendered, which I'll talk about in a moment. But that's the kind of vision that we're wanting to initiate. So we've got a couple of people doing 2s as well. So we've got who we are, number 1, what you're here to do, number 2. Number 3, which is what this session is about, is what you know. How integrated you are in your monadic state and into the consciousness. And I'm talking about consciousness beyond AI. This is stuff AI hasn't got in it yet, because AI is just a language database. And the stuff that we're bringing in when you connect to your higher self is not in AI at the moment, other than those people who are recording their higher self downloads are putting it in, but it's stale by the time you come across it. So number 3, what you know and your monadic state. How many of you are consciously working through expanding your consciousness and creating situations that you can force your consciousness to expand? And then we have number 4, what skills you have, and importantly, if you value them. And this is more about your invisible and soft skills. This is where who you are, just by the vibration of who you are, makes a difference in the world. So what skills you have and value. How are you working on uncovering them and discovering them? And that's number 4. So they're just 4 areas for you to start thinking about. And each time we do one of these podcasts, then that effectively is what we're doing. We're exploring one or some or a cross section of those different areas. Because the thing is, when you were born, your vision was probably huge, expensive. And then society, parents, teachers, people started blocking you and telling you, you can't. That doesn't make sense. That's stupid. Yeah. And those are the things we're trying to take away to go back to that original memory of what you're here to do. Excellent. I can see 1, 2s and 3s and 4s. Well done, guys. That's what we need. The more people doing that, the more we'll be able to fix the world. That's my, that's what I really believe, actually. I laugh, but that's what I believe. So the other part of the theme is the expansion of consciousness lesson that we learn this time of year. And there are 12 modules that we cover every month, but this is just one of the superstructures that we work for in the membership. And there are different ways for you to, this is like what you know expanded, yeah? This is how we move out of our small circle into our bigger circle. So for example, there are times when I talk about our great vision, sometimes I use the word rare success, other times I use the word kingdom's work. And each of them has just a slightly different lens on which to look at what you're here to do. If I asked you what was your sole purpose, you might think one thing. If I asked you what your kingdom's work was, you might change that. For somebody else, the rare success will work. For somebody else, they understand the great vision. So each of these words, when they've come up, really do help you to walk around this thing that we're building so that we can see it from different perspectives. Now, every month in the masterclass, I go into a lot of detail on this. I talk about how we can prepare our minds for the future of AI. I give lists of how things you can do to navigate the seen and unseen realms, how to trigger your consciousness expansion, how to uplevel your goals, and also about how once you know your destination, you become a time bender because you can get where you're going more easily once you know where you're going. This month, we added an extra section about the cognitive skills that we need to be able to do this. And these are all available as replays. If you wanted to join the membership, then they're there to be tuned into at your own leisure. So a couple of things I wanted to share from that masterclass with you was, one, we need to remember that what you know now isn't just what you read from books or what you understand on an intellectual level, because AI is going to be amazing at this. So it has to be now what AI can't do, which is what you can absorb from sensing earth and energies and even trees and plants and animals and the cosmic energies. This is like that bigger circle on your circle, the circle that you drew, the monadic circle you drew. Because AI can't do that as well yet. Not saying that it can't ever, because we've got things that can read the weather and sense some things, but even then it's data, it's not sentient data. So I'm just reading Charles. That one doesn't come out whole cloth. Again, I'm not quite sure what that one means. You're going to have to, because you're slightly, Charles, if I ask you questions, it's because you're slightly delayed from what I'm saying now, and I have to try and imagine what that relates back to. So sorry. So 2 is we need to make time to understand our higher perspectives. Like, how do we really reach our mind out into higher perspectives and to expand our consciousness? And we tend to use soul journeys to do that. So learning things like, I don't like using the word meditation because there's just so many types of meditation that people get confused. So I prefer to stick to what I call a soul journey, where we consciously explore other dimensions to understand the terrain of energies that we might be coming up. So like reading the future, looking what the next steps are. So we can use all of that to do soul journeys. And when we know roughly what the terrain is, it's just easier to recognize the clues and to recognize the messages from the higher self. And that will allow us to create innovative, great visions. Now, back in 2020, I decided to allow White Star, who had started speaking to me and was getting quite noisy. So I think she's been talking to me my whole life, but I just didn't listen. But in 2020, we had a whole argument as I was driving into London for about 3 hours. I think she had a go at me. And I know that sounds weird to say that, but it was like having a chat with somebody in the car. That's how my channeling comes in. And she was telling me I had to do something. I had to mix, I was teaching dance at the time, and she wanted me to mix teaching dance and spirituality together. So that was kind of like one of the clues for my great vision, was that these 2 disparate things coming together as a single object. And in the end, to keep it quiet, I agreed to do it. And it actually was more successful than I expected. And I remember when I finished thinking, well, actually isn't a bad idea, even though I resisted it the whole way up. So I was curious then after that experience of what she would then suggest if I let her take the lead. So I wasn't getting different results from what I was already doing. So I was ready to say, I give up, I surrender, higher self, take over and show me what you have in store for me. And she took me on this journey of galactic consciousness. Now, as somebody who's got a background in computing, being shown star seeds, planets, communication between planets, it freaked me out. It's like, I really don't understand the purpose of this. But because I'd committed to listening to my higher self, then I just sat with the information and allowed it. And it was interesting that even though it was uncomfortable, because moving out of your comfort space of intellectual understanding is always discomfortable, is always uncomfortable. And even though I was resistant and often felt very, very confused with what she was showing me, it was at least just last year that I finally understood the purpose of what she'd been showing me. And it feels like sometimes the higher self wants you to experience certain things before it explains it to you. So this is why you have to learn this very strong ability to pay attention to what's coming in and to organize it. And high achievers are great because they're really good at putting together information that doesn't fit together and collating it and making it better. That is one of the skills of a high achiever. So in a way, my high achiever self really fits with the higher self I have, because she expects me to be able to do this kind of work. And I am capable to do it if I'm not resistant. So if you have to have the experiences and sort of see all these visions, because the mind doesn't know the difference between a real visualization, like what's happening in reality and what you're really seeing with your eyes, versus what your mind's eye is seeing. So you can go through a whole emotional reaction to what you're seeing in these visions and what she was showing me. There were times where I cried and I didn't know why I was crying. I felt homesick. And it took you through this journey of thinking, well, why is she showing me all this? It's painful. And as these pieces all fell in bit by bit, then I started to see what she was trying to show me. And it's interesting now that I found the name for this. It's called the overview effect. And it's something astronauts experience when they go up and they see the Earth from a higher perspective and look down. They suddenly find compassion for Earth. They suddenly even sort of experience transcendence just from rising up and looking down on the Earth. And I kind of felt like White Star took me out into this galactic realm to look at stardust, to look at how comets are made up, to look at neutrinos and protons and electrons, and to look at all the different consciousness that people were tapping into and explore them, to find out why some people thought Orion had one type of consciousness and why mythology supported that and why. And it's through all of that asking why, I stretched my mind and it widened my view so that I would have the overview effect myself. So has anybody else ever had an overview effect like that? Because now I find I'm better equipped to hear and understand the flashes of genius that she also shares with me, because she speaks in analogies. The higher self speaks in analogies, not logic. And I would have missed a lot of these before until she took me on this journey of expansion. Now, if we can open our minds, this cosmic consciousness and the divine intelligence that is all around us, and I can now tune into it with quite a lot of accuracy, and I can teach other people to do this too, we learn what we're here to do. Now, the interesting thing for me was that even though this was happening, and it kind of happened to me as opposed to me going to look to do it, not everyone needs to look on a galactic level, but we all need to tune into our own zone of genius. Then, because it was galactic and starseed orientated, I decided they were just strange hiccups and I just had to endure them and maybe she'd stop showing them to me. So that meant I didn't value them. I just thought, hey, what's this happening? You know, it's just passing by. Well, I'll just be patient and wait for it to go. And again, last year, I ended up finding a talk from a professor in Oxford discussing consciousness. So that's a subject he studies and has qualifications in to discuss. And everything he said, as I sat there listening, was what my higher self had shown me. And I had to sit down and kind of slap myself and say, you're undervaluing your talents again. And this is why I'm trying to expand your consciousness as to what your talents, what you're here to do, and who you are, because it is quite a magical realm in some respects. But if you're a logical high achiever, then sometimes it's hard to get your mind around because you've learned to value yourself by how much you do, not by how much you are becoming. So the language is very different from the professor, but the concepts were all the same. So that's quite an amazing realization for me because like I've been trained in what I learned in my degree, what I knew, how well I knew it. And you can imagine if I was still there now in the age of AI, I'd be really frightened about losing my job right now if I was still in IT, because lots of people are losing work in IT. But I don't feel like that because I feel like I'm not threatened by AI because I just have this other ability, this expanded consciousness that I can tap into. And I feel like a lot of us as high achievers feel like we need that proof, that mirror to shine back to us to say, oh, you're amazing, what you're doing is good, before we believe it ourselves. And I also know that it doesn't matter how many times I tell a high achiever how good they are, they won't believe it until they've experienced it. So they need peer review. So it's like there's this really sticky glue around high achievers, constantly making them think they're not good enough. And this is why the carousel of visions from the solstice energy is coming in to dissolve that now, because we need your brilliance and we need it out, full shining bright onto the earth right now. Now, equally, this experience taught me that this wasn't the first time I'd not valued what I could do. This is something I'd been doing throughout my whole life. So how many of you feel that you don't value or think now, based on my story, how many of you can think of a story in your lifetime where you didn't value your resources that might have been more valuable than you can imagine now? Very often. Okay. Charles has asked, can I ask the Lemurians to create the AI right for me? I think that's what's underneath. I hate it when it covers up half the end of the sentence. I can't quite see what's under there, but I think that's what he said. Can I ask the Lemurians to create the AI right for me? AI is just AI. You create the right version of it by the questions you ask it and by how discerning you are about what it offers you as responses and how you take what it gives you and create something even more amazing from it. You don't need the Lemurians' help to do that. You can just intend that you are the wise one and you know what is the truth and not the truth. You know how to use information, because AI is just information. It's just a collation of data. It doesn't understand the words. It's just pattern matching. So you can intend that all of that is serving you and not creating, because it can create delusions and hallucinations. It hallucinates and then causes delusions in humans. And you can then navigate that world much easier. So the third thing that I wanted to share from the Expanding Consciousness Masterclass was that as high achievers, we have to learn the language to translate these high dimensional wisdoms, because it's beyond linear thinking, it's beyond analytical thinking. And our minds are powerful tools, but analogies, if you can do analogical thinking, you're perfectly aligned, which again, I think most high achievers can do. You might not know it and you might not recognize it, but if you can get into analogical reasoning, then you'll find that it's much easier to understand your higher self. And you can become the bridge between the logical precision and the intuitive expansion. And this is about seeing beyond procedures, which AI is going to get really good at, and being able to embrace the quantum landscape of consciousness that is not on the internet, that is not in some post somewhere, but to be able to bring that in. So I always say, people, if you're putting your great visions and your higher self downloads into AI, it's going to spit it out to somebody else somewhere. So do be aware that your content will be used to train their models. Because our high achievers of the future need to move from being tactical and procedural thinkers into more strategic. And we do that through this holistic understanding of consciousness and the higher self. So that's us accessing the outer circle. And Charles is saying, other people have always been my resource. Well, maybe it's time you trusted yourself and your higher self, because like this higher self's coming in, and that's why it's coming in. And somebody said to me the other day, like, but if I learn to use my higher self, then I don't need you. And I'm like, yes, that's what we want. We don't need to go for energy readings or tarot readings or any of those things anymore. We can do it ourselves. I'm here to guide you back to your own power to do this yourself. And yes, there are times where things are a bit more complicated and I've got a bit more experience, but you can do this yourself. I want you to. I want you that. I want everybody to have that power. So the fourth thing that I wanted to share on expanding your consciousness from the masterclass was that if we understand or accept that we are meant to use our external world to expand our consciousness, then everything, that's the blessings and the challenges, are there to act as a mirror of your current state. Which means that during this metamorphosis, you can use your exterior world to trigger that metamorphosis, to trigger different thinking, if you so choose. And like, if we look at our exterior world right now, what are the kind of two neurological things that are happening in our world right now? AI, artificial intelligence, not because it's not artificial because it's coming from an artificial brain like the machine. It's artificial because it's artificial intelligence. It's not real intelligence. It doesn't matter that the machine created. You could say some of our news outlets are artificial intelligence too, but but we have artificial intelligence as one external reflection, and we have neurodivergence as the other. So I've spoken about ADHD before as attention dialed into higher dimensions, and it does represent a type of brain that is able to scan all the airwaves, which is why it's like distracted by too much information. Oops, sorry. And you can imagine that it's this kind of sonar, like a dolphin, being able to scan wide and at a distance to pick up information of consciousness. So that's a really powerful skill to have. So that's why I think ADHD becoming more noticed, but also more people feeling it. I'm wondering if that's an evolution of the brain ready for us to be able to download more consciousness. And the only thing then we need, if ADHD is the future, then we just need a way to be able to go from the macro, seeing the big picture, to be able to fine tune into the micro, to zoom into the specifics once we've scanned the bigger one. And this is a bit like moving from being a generalist or moving away from being a specialist to a generalist as well. Because in the past, our schooling has always encouraged us to be specialists. And the future, we need to be generalists to match up to AI. AI will be the specialist. It'll be good at that. And then, of course, we have artificial intelligence, which is here, which does make learning easier. It pulls together disparate information on demand. It can make links between patterns that we didn't see. It allows us to ask different questions and give us different viewpoints much quicker than we've ever been able to do before. But it has to be used with discernment, and it has to be, we have to be the channel to check its truth so that we only share the most truthful version to promote evolution on the planet. So artificial intelligence works off a kind of big database of knowledge that is scraped from social media and databases of like internet websites and things, which makes it a large language model. But it's mostly pattern matching. And even the source guy, the developer of OpenAI, Sam Altman, he hopes that in 2026, he can get it to generate original thought, which basically tells you can't do that now. That's assuming he could do it by next year. But on top of that, there's another form of artificial intelligence called artificial general intelligence, AGI, which I think is more what I learned in college. And that is where they are trying to model true reasoning and true critical thinking, which again tells you it can't do that now. It's just pattern matching, which is why you probably end up seeing the same thing over and over again, because it's starting to make shortcuts to its patterns. So what have you seen in your external world that has caused an expansion in your consciousness this last couple of weeks? And again, I'm not expecting answers, by the way. I'm just giving you time to actually think about what I said, because all my questions are here to find out what you don't know. It's not at me. If you can answer all my questions, then you wouldn't have any expansion, would you? Because you know the answer. I'm trying to find questions you don't know the answers to. Which, if you have any problems with like being right or perfectionism, probably is triggering you all over the place right now. But honestly, it's good to not know. It's good to have a small expansion percentage because it means all that is still for you to explore. If you think you've got it all, then you've probably already got a different type of limit of, you think you know it, which means that you can't absorb any new information and you can't get into a beginner's mindset. So the fifth thing I wanted to share then was that learning esoteric language is that ability to understand analogies. And we need the higher self to do that, because the higher self has, or the higher self mindset. The higher self mindset, the entrepreneurial mindset, is a certain type of, again, a way of thinking. And it's very good at analyzing information and pulling it together so that we can work out, why does it show me a story of an old mythological creature? How does that relate to my life right now? That's the kind of processing we all have to do. And ChatGPT can help with some of this, but again, you have to just make sure it doesn't pollute your vision with its own biases and what it has pulled from other data sources and other people's biases. And we also have to be careful that if we are using AI to help with this work, and I'll ask you a question, let's ask the question now. If you use something like AI, do you remember it the next day? If you were to hear it, would you remember it the next day? If you were to write it, would you remember it the next day? And it's a bit like a calculator. When we all started using calculators, we've got how to do maths in our head. And AI can accidentally lead us to forgetting how to think. Now, me personally, I find even if I type it, it doesn't stay as well as if I write it. So which do you think is the best for you to analyze your downloads, your dreams, your visions, your clues, so that you can turn them into ways to explore who you are, what you're here to do, what skills you have, and what you know. So which way do you find is the strongest way to really integrate and embody the information that you're working on? Sometimes I don't even remember when I write stuff myself. I find that happens when it's kind of really abstract or important information. It can sometimes take a while to actually, yeah, you have to spend more time with it. But that is a technique, you know, I spend a lot of time with my wife, start to learn to be able to speak to the way I do. I had to spend a lot of time analyzing what she was saying because I committed to her and I committed to like a marriage. And I again think one of the episodes we did here was marrying yourself. And it is a marriage between me and her. And I have to work on my communication. She works on hers. And between us, we're building this way of understanding each other so it can become more fluid in these conversations. But you have to work at it, just like going to the gym. If you don't go to the gym, don't expect any changes in your mental agility. And, you know, the problem is each person's higher self and each person's interaction with the world is going to be seen through their unique lens. So my experience and what works for me might not work for you. So it's about finding what works for you as well. This is what expanding your consciousness as a module is all about. How can we break out of our old habits, break out of our old way of thinking, and find a way that expands us so that we can uncover your great vision and our creativity? And it's kind of looking at the world as our playground. So it's a catalyst to our expansion. And that's not just like education, but also soul journeys, exploring galactic consciousness, all as a way to stretch your mind to receive flashes of genius. And we also just discussed ADHD as possibly an evolution of our minds and how AI is there to help mirror our intelligence for us to actually recognize how intelligent we are rather than to make us feel stupid. And if we do feel stupid with AI, then we need some healing to help us get more resilient to it. So that's part one. So next we're going to explore part two, which is the preparation and the outlook. So the preparation tends to be what we might already know that we can utilize this month. And this is quite a beautiful energy this month because the preparation is divine generosity or divine grace. And it's saying that if we can believe that our vision already exists, then we can also believe that heaven, the energies of blessings, abundance, prosperity, beauty, good fortune, and enlightenment or enlightened spirituality are actually all around you now. And you only have to open your mind to see it. So the preparation is, it's already there. So remember the brick wall example we just did? When you put on your X-ray glasses, you could see through it. So you're standing there, this big black wall, frightened, what's the other side? You put on your X-ray glasses and you see through to this divine generosity. What did that feel like? See if you can create that feeling in your body. If you could believe that this divine generosity, as in it's there to support you, to make everything work for you, if you can believe that that's there, and that it's there waiting to fuel you to become your authentic self, to fuel you into your great vision, to evolve humanity, to allow you to shine your beauty into the world, to uplift and heal, inspire, and even enchant other souls. Can you believe that? So just take your energy in and see what your mind is saying to you, what your body's reaction is. Is it tense? Is it relaxed? Imagine if you discovered now that every limitation you've ever experienced was just a veil blocking your true potential. What if abundance wasn't something you chase, but it's something that's been following you around and flowing all around you your whole life? And that's what the last few months has been telling us and advising us. Whether it be talents we were undervaluing, whether it was our abilities that we were playing down. Because as high achievers, one of the habits we have is it's almost like we're not successful unless we're struggling. That's why we keep moving the goalposts. That's why we keep making things harder for ourselves, because it's like, oh, this is a bit easy. I can't be trying hard enough. Perfectionism. I must do more. And not sitting down and enjoying the blessings from what we've just done, or even accepting them. So what that means is that by nature, like the God spark that we mentioned earlier, which you can tap into now if you want to really tap into this divine generosity, what we're saying is that you are divinely aligned with abundance. And that the only thing between you and the abundance is your ability to receive. Makes you feel more at ease? Nice. I think I'm going to have a separate conversation with Charles here. Me talking to AI, I love being Charles. Yeah, it's really hard with YouTube having these conversations. That's why I'm thinking I might change the format of these lives and they might be done on Zoom instead. And then I'll just share the highlights to YouTube. So just to warn you, there might be a change in how I offer these. So catch up on them while they're still available. So the other aspect of this preparation energy is that you have to believe that you are surrounded by divine generosity, then you have to find a positive spin on your challenges. You have to find a positive spin on the bad things that happened in your past. Otherwise, they are going to pull you back into a negative vibration, not into the blessings. So what if your challenges are there to help you become stronger and for your soul to get stronger? They say that some of the strongest, most powerful creatives come out of chaos. And that's what's going on right now, rather than the world trying to destroy, the universe trying to destroy you. So don't let this fear hold you back from going forward and walking boldly. So just tune in now, and we're going to use the letters A to F, I think. And we're going to tune into what is your block to why you cannot believe you're surrounded by divine generosity. So is the issue A, a limiting belief? You just put in the letters into the comments. So what is blocking you from tuning in to the divine generosity that is already all around you, that is blocking your ability to receive, maybe? Is it A, a limiting belief? Is it B, and we're body testing, we don't want the mind to lie to us. Is it B, a restrictive mindset? So we've got one restrictive mindset holding you back. Is it C, not valuing yourself? Yeah, I thought that one might come up as popular. Not valuing yourself is a huge issue on the planet right now. It's kind of like, yeah. Oh yeah, it's kind of like I say, abundance is related to how much you value yourself. If you don't value yourself, then abundance will come difficult as well. So D, how closed your heart is or how open your heart is. Let's go for open. So if the issue is that your heart's not open enough, then it's D. And then E is the last one, actually. Is it a lack of belief in your ability to achieve your dreams? Is it that feeling that your dreams feel like they're just a fantasy? There's no way on earth they're going to happen. So is it E, a lack of belief in your ability to achieve your dreams? Cool. So belief in self and value of self. Cool. So based on that, you can now tap into the instinct of God and just ask that you are shown whatever you need to do to heal that, whichever results you all got. And by tapping into that, just imagine that every cell in your body now is being programmed to find out where that is in your body, where it is in your mind, to remove it and to bring you back into your true blueprint. Now we know we're surrounded by this divine generosity. I can feel it's there. I can feel that we have to kind of create that bridge of receiving to be able to allow it to flow across to us. And the reason that we're talking about it tonight is because it is ripe to be fixed. It's ready to be fixed now. But also, divine generosity has one other, I wouldn't call it a trick rule, but it kind of is a trick rule. If you fear your great vision, if you fear abundance or money, if you fear your authentic self shining brightly for whatever reasons, if you fear your brilliance being broken open, then divine generosity doesn't want you to suffer. It doesn't want you to be panicked in fear. It will take those things away. It may drip feed them back to you, and it will let it wait until you're ready for them. So if you're trying to manifest something and it's just not coming, could it be that you actually, on some level, even if it's a conflicting kind of way, are you possibly believing that there's something bad's going to happen when it comes? And in which case, that could be the reason it's blocking you accessing divine generosity. Because it doesn't care about the object. It just wants you to be in a peaceful state. If you want to stay in the cage, the lion's cage, it'll leave you in the lion's cage. It'll just keep it away from you until you're ready. So has anybody got that as a block? That fear of what might happen if you succeed is that kind of energy. So Charles is saying he's got A, B, C, and D, all of the above fears. So Charles, tap into that that position where we tap in along the thymus and just ask yourselves to give you clues to let go of what you're ready to let go of, because there's an energetic bubble we're working in tonight that will allow that, and to just invite the expanded consciousness around us to give you the clues you need to finally fix all of this, whether it be a book or a video or the right person you need to speak to. Okay. So if that's the preparation, is us getting ready to receive what is already there as divine generosity, the outlook is that you become a state of gratitude. This is not a gratitude practice. This is a vibration, a permanent vibration of the gratitude state. Gratitude for being always in conversation with the world around you, the seen and the unseen. Can we cultivate gratitude for that? Whether you can do it or not, just create the gratitude that is possible. And I wish I saw more posts about this than I do about how amazing AI is. How grateful can you feel for everything that comes into your life, the good, the bad? Yeah, because gratitude practices tend to only focus on the good bits. But I want you to just feel grateful for the good and the bad as it comes whirling around on that carousel, showing you all the ways that you can co-create on this earth. Just allow your heart to open, because your heart is really strong energy to change your vibration. Remembering even your hardest challenges, remember they all are just covered in pain, but inside is the gold. Keep amplifying how grateful you are to be in a human body, that you chose to come from spirit to experience taste, pleasure, touch. Because that's enhancing and expanding your consciousness, which you didn't know when you were just spirit. Gratitude for the fact that you have skills that you can use to be of service to the world, and that you can be compensated for that, doing the thing you love, not just the passion you love, but the work that you really are an expert at. And then 4, finally, imagining that what if divine generosity isn't about getting more? It's about becoming this channel for the frequencies, a living, breathing transmission, a radio station of your own making for universal abundance. Channeling the heaven energy down through your body and just becoming that state, sending it out, the state of having everything you want and desire, being gratitude, almost like wearing a new cloak that makes you just the essence of gratitude. And as such, we know that when we do that, we help the world, which helps the universe, which then gets returned to us 100-fold. So keep tuning into this as your new natural state or month. So next we're going to explore part 3, the challenge and the strength for this month. Before I move on. So Charles is saying, I've always had an adversarial relationship with gratitude. Time to change. Yeah, I don't like gratitude practices. They feel a bit forced, like they're forcing you to find gratitude by finding a thing that evokes gratitude inside you. However, feeling like being gratitude, just like being the thing that draws gratitude down from the heavens and spreads it out around the earth, that's a different, more powerful feeling, I think. So Charles, I'd be interested to see if that works for you. Let me know. Okay, so now we're going to explore part 3, the challenge and the strength for this month. So the challenge is a mudra, and it's about breaking your brilliance out of your inner jail. Jailbreak. Deep inside you, you've locked away your brilliance for whatever reasons, fear, something bad happened. There's lots of times, like from not just this lifetime, but multiple dimension times, the reasons why we do this. And yet you're feeling brave enough and called to step out of your comfort zone. That's what solstice is doing. So at this point, we got brilliance ready to break out, and you're being called to step out of your comfort zone into something else. And that inner critic voice starts up saying, who are you to be? The imposter comes in and goes, you cannot. But the way I look at it is that in that moment when you're about to do something brilliant, and we call it the inner critic or the imposter, I see that as your true essence trying to break out. And the imposter is the version of you that's not letting it out. So everybody today is an imposter until they return to their true essence frequency. And again, this has been a theme I speak about a lot. So that situation that you spoke up and then regretted was probably your higher self your higher self, your true essence, trying to spit out something when it thought that your jail walls were down shortly. And then you put the walls back up and it gets trapped again. So the version of you that's playing small is the imposter. And next time you step out of your comfort zone and try and do something else, then use this mudra to help you. So the mudra involves, and it's hard to show, but you put your thumbs together. Let me put your thumbs together. Take the first finger and touch that. And then you open up your other fingers. So your nails with your thumb are facing you, fingers at tips are touching, and all the fingers are open. Now, I've been putting Ura Verde crystal in my palms when I do this, and you put it over your heart. And as you do this, I want you to imagine that the Ura Verde, which is a kind of a green gold color, and it's got multiple facets to shine all of your brilliance and your natural talents as shining off each of the facets. And we just imagine putting that crystal into your heart. And when we put the crystal into your heart, what it's doing is almost like amplifying the brilliance. So imagine your brilliance is kind of creeped out of a crack of the jail, and the crystal is kind of amplifying it, making it stronger and stronger so it can basically break out and dissolve the walls that are containing it. So feel that crystal in your heart, breaking down the walls. Remembering that some of the reasons you put those walls up were because you were with the wrong people that never appreciated you, which wasn't what you were doing that was wrong. So don't let that stop you shining your brilliance. Slide on past them with a glass of champagne and a knowing smile, going, you don't get me, but I know where I'm going. And imagine attracting only those that really, really, really get your brilliance, that see your brilliance, that respond to your brilliance by shining their brilliance. Those that can see how all of your brilliant ideas all fit together and that can sense the beauty of sharing this truth with others. Don't give up on your brilliant dreams just because it hasn't worked out yet. It doesn't mean they were bad ideas. It doesn't mean they were too big or they were too mundane. They came to you for a reason, as you were the perfect person to bring it into reality. Visualize now letting your brilliance out of its cage, out of its jail. The Ura Verde crystal, that kind of golden green color, is shining. It's pulsing with your heartbeat. And just feel the octaves of brilliance radiating out from your heart all around you and creating a bubble around you. Now, what do you need to do to allow others to see this radiance? If you don't fear it, then great. But if you feel any fear, what else do you need to do to allow people to see your brilliance? Do you have to take off some sort of sheet or some blanket that you've covered your brilliance in? Do you need to decide to stop it being invisible and to allow it to be seen? And as soon as your brilliance starts shining, just notice how other people are responding to your brilliance. Some will be agreeable and some not, but it doesn't matter. Let your brilliance become your light that guides you from within your heart center through life towards your great vision. Now, like I said, this brilliance is like an electrical charge. It's intense, it's strong, it might be overwhelming. So just put that pink granite, this is the strength, put the pink granite around you as a pyramid, as a lightning conductor. The pyramids used to hum when energy hit the pyramids because the stone does have a resonance. And allow it to act as a multi-dimensional bridge for you to become the channel for abundance and prosperity, for blessings, for spiritual enlightenment. And for you to bring that through with your brilliance, to combine with your brilliance down to the earth. And we said we can use that brilliance to go fishing for higher vibrational visions. Now, if this energy gets blocked, it can make you feel kind of weird and a bit tired. So do keep imagining this visualization and grounding that energy and feeling it buzzing through to the pink granite at your feet. Holding the mudra for brilliance to shine forth unashamedly. Take a deep breath and just bring yourself back here now to the present. Does that make you feel a bit more empowered? And again, you know, these are very small practices I put into these every month, just 5-10 minutes that you can do quite quickly when you wake up in the morning or before you go to bed. And these are just new energetic habits, creating new frequencies so that you can tap into new frequencies of expanding consciousness. Cool. Okay, so the last part 4, the advice and next steps that we need. Now, this one is a little bit weird, so I'll warn you. But I'll also end with how you can work with me as your guide if you want to kind of work with our membership or me personally. So the advice was cosmic light. So that's the solstice energy coming in. And from what I could sense, it was a higher dimensional. So it was like 12D, if you know what your dimensions are. I won't go into that now. But this 12D energy coming in could be intense, which is why we need to open up our brilliance and channel it down into the granite to allow us to tap into a bigger consciousness. And this 12D consciousness kind of fitted in with the pink granite and pyramids in a way, because it was quite Egyptian. And the Egyptians were kind of known for their advanced views of life. They had quite an expanded consciousness, if you think about it. The Book of the Dead, the way they handle certain things in their society. So this 12D light has something to do with remembering old Egyptian ways that we can reapply today. So the consciousness of the old coming into the present to help us deal with the challenges of today. Because at the end of the day, nothing is new under the sun. What we're experiencing now, we can probably map back to Egyptian times. And there's a book, Alan de Botton, I think it was the Psychology of Happiness, was it called? And that's exactly what he does. He goes back and looks at different periods of time to see if we've evolved or if we're just repeating the same cycle. And it kind of shows we're repeating the same cycle, but that stops now. 2025, it stops now. So this 12D energy that's coming in is there to actually release these old power struggles and stop them. And you're going to need your brilliance to be able to translate these into something for humanity right now. Now, this abundance energy or the 12D energy could be something for you personally. It could be something you need to do for somebody else, or it could be something you need to do for the planet. So I guess this is a very specific type of consciousness you need to watch out for, whether it be something on TV or an idea or a dream or something you're drawn to. And just consider what would be the highest vibration version of life. So like if we take work as an example, do we really have to work 9 to 5? Should we be prioritizing looking after children, looking after our family over working 9 to 5? That could be a higher vibrational thought. Yeah. And through exploring that, we could then decide if there was a way that this could become reality. So that's the kind of 12D energy that's coming in, is to invoke those kind of thoughts and for us to start thinking and visioning differently. This is kind of the energy that high achievers should really love, because it's going to push them into higher dimensions. So you become this column of light, of divine generosity, bringing in this 12D energy and being assertive, like, I can do this. I know what I'm doing with this, so that you can make things happen. And if you can focus your intention correctly based on the carousel, the solstice carousel we spoke about, that's where the 12D energy is coming through, then it's a bit like the 12D energy is going to give you the ability to do some reconnaissance, the searching, the understanding of what a high vibration might be, so that you can then apply it to your life, which will help you work smarter, not harder, and it will help you not give your power away. So it finds a more empowered way to live life. So this is the advice, is how do we translate this 12D energy and listen for it so that we can share it with others. And the next steps has to be I'm having disco lights going on here. The next steps have to be a bit more of an analogy, I think, because what came up was mix and match, man management for women. So it was kind of like a sentence out of a book, which is always harder to interpret. but the word smorgasbord kind of really struck me. So imagine that a smorgasbord is like a platter of mix and match food that you like, finger food. And that's kind of, again, going back to that carousel. And it felt like it was saying, you know, that you're creating your own future. The future's yours to vision. You don't have to ask somebody else what to do. Your higher self already knows what to do. You just have to do it. I also think that this man management aspect is referring to the fact that because our higher self is upgraded to global aspirations, I see that as like I mentioned, a masculine energy. I think that's the man bit. Then our soul wisdom, which is the knowledge base we use to make decisions from, our soul wisdom is a feminine energy. And that we kind of have to learn how to put these two things together to create the right balance that we need for the future and how to integrate this new high dimensional energy. So I think that's the most I've got on that, but this is a great time for you guys to tune in and see what mix and match and the smorgasbord would represent as a next step for you. Now, some people can get it as like a flash and it comes up straight away. And other times you have to sit with it and make space for it. And just while you're having a coffee, wonder, well, I wonder how that could be applied in my life. And effectively, what you're doing is you're kind of putting your higher self and your soul wisdom as employees to work on a problem for you. And we did that as one of the episodes, to lay all your burdens down at the feet of your higher self. I love this, showing my brilliance with a cup of champagne, waving at my tribe. Yes. I think there's actually a poem that goes along that line. You know, do you want to end life safe, or do you want to go out with a glass of champagne and strawberries, sliding on past going, woohoo? And we want that. So the mantra for this month is, and this is about expanding your consciousness, I know the way to my great vision. My rare success, I'm guided by the stars, and I trust that my aim is true. I see the goal, I reach the goal, and then I see another. So that's quite an affirming, resilient kind of statement to help you know that you can access expanded states of consciousness, and that the clues are all there, and that you're surrounded in blessings. Yeah, so mix and match could be the best ideas to implement. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But I don't understand like why I just didn't say that. Because when it's as specific as that, there's usually something that's specific to that kind of text, as opposed to general, just mix and match. But we'll see, we'll watch, because this happened when we got the God Spark, and it took me about 6 months before it gave me all the information I needed to understand what we were doing with it. So I'm excited to see where this unfolds. So let's just tune in now and look at the consciousness circle you all drew. So now you're the dot in the middle. The first line is where you drew your consciousness before we started tonight. Where do you feel like you want to move that out towards the outer circle now? Definitely bigger. Nice. Now, this is an example of how to expand your consciousness without actually doing anything, but just allowing and listening and letting me bring the frequencies to you. And life can be like this. Isn't that cool? As a high achiever, I was always taught to think, to do. And White Star has been teaching me how not to be that and how to receive instead. So not, YouTube, I haven't caught up yet. If you want to really embrace your quantum human abilities, there are 2 ways we can work together to kind of carry on this kind of creating flashes of light and finding out where your limits are so we can break them. Then I have the membership, the Quantum Human Membership, which takes you on 12 3-hour online masterclasses to basically rebuild you from the bottom up. So to boost your superstructures so that you can build bigger buildings on them and reach bigger goals. And it's aimed at helping going through the metamorphosis from the quantum to the quantum, sorry, from the human to the quantum human. And it's done as a membership subscription. It is intensive work. It has a workbook for questions. as homework to discover who you are, and replays and a toolkit of videos to teach different concepts. And I do it in this very haphazard kind of way because I think we learn better when we're applying what we learn to our everyday. And it's not about how much you retain, it's about getting exactly what you need when you need it. But like tonight, there are energetic recalibrations involved, and that will help your body receive more of your soul wisdom and help you change the way you navigate life. And the second way we can work together is with my Quantum Lightning Path. And this is a 6-month one-to-one where we go through, there are 6 modules plus whatever else I might need around that to help you liberate yourself back to your true essence, which will then allow you to see more of what you're here to do. So it's about breaking down your self-sabotaging, coming up with new habits, helping you see the ways that you're behaving that are basically leading you to your small life instead of your bigger unfolding version of who you can be. So it's a handheld program that. So if you're interested in any of those, then I tend to do interviews for them because this work is a little different to what people might expect. And I just want to make sure we're fully aligned when we do this kind of work together because I want you to be successful and it's important that we match. So you can email me at whitestarsoulguidance@gmail.com. In fact, if you have any questions on any of my podcasts, you can also email me. I do reply. And please do add any comments to these videos when you replay them because I do try and watch for those as well. So high achievers, entrepreneurial mindsets. Perhaps we've gone a little bit more into our higher selves tonight and started reimagining our future. So next time we'll be live is 21st of July. That's Monday at 8 p.m. BST, British summertime. I think, yeah, we're still summertime. So hit the bell to be notified. Hit like if you felt inspired by something I've said. Replay it as many times as you need to. Leave comments and insights for each time you'll learn something new. And share any takeaways so we can continue the conversation and create more evolution for us and whoever else is watching. And I'd love you to help grow this community. So share the videos with people that might trigger synchronous conversations for your evolution. So I want to build this community of revolutionary critical thinkers and change makers because we're not meant to do this on our own. The collective, like I said, all of us sending our rays on a convergence is the way forward now. And we can all start talking to each other and sharing our stories. It's not about teaching each other. It's about sharing each other's stories so that we can create evolution for each other. So thank you guys for joining me. I'm going to join now with those on Zoom, so don't leave when I finish the call. And we just have an extra Q&A for my members. But before I go, let's just tune in to what we've learned tonight. So we asked about your current consciousness expansion percentage. Has that gone up from 1 to 100? So we know the circle's got bigger. So what's the new number for that? Wow, that's a big jump for those numbers. Yeah, cool. Number 2, I can let my brilliance be fully expressed, 1 to 100. Three, I am safe to become my true essence, 1 to 100. I'm smiling because the numbers are like a lot higher than they were earlier. So 3, I am safe to become my true essence, 1 to 100. And 4, I am open to receiving new talents, 1 to 100. And 5, I am valuable just as I am. So if anyone's got any questions, put them into the chat. And I can come back round if we sign off before I get to them. I'll come back and look at them later. But I'm glad to see everybody's numbers have gone up. And like this is part of the proof. When you see your numbers, when you can body test and get past your mind and see this is shifting, it makes it easier to see how you can go through the transformation and expand your consciousness. And it's much easier than you think. Okay, so as we close today, remember, we're not running a Super Mario style of game anymore. This is not about racing to get to the end as quick as possible. In fact, the type of game we're playing now as a quantum human is about taking our time to explore infinite consciousness to find doorways to our great vision and to our next innovative idea. So it's a bit more like an escape room analogy than the Super Mario. So your great vision isn't something you create, it's something you remember. Where if we were butterflies, we'd live differently than if we were caterpillars. And that's what we're learning, how to shift what we're doing. You can imagine reaching your goals as a caterpillar climbing up one branch at a time versus flying to the top as a butterfly. And we can see how much easier that could be. And that's a choice now for you to become the butterfly. And to do that, to become the butterfly, we need to expand our consciousness to allow us to see the unseen, the seen, and to things that we don't know. The universe isn't just supporting you, it's conspiring to help you in every single moment. How does that feel? Keep cultivating that feeling all month. And I hope maybe somebody can drop a note in to say what new insight they've had about their great vision so I can experience your great vision one day. So go forth as quantum humans and create the heaven on earth that your soul longs for. My soul longs for it. The universe is here to support because when you are successfully using your talents in service to the world, it helps the universe to help the world and it helps every living thing. So thank you guys, and I'll say good night. And I'm really sorry, I don't know how I managed to make these so big. The script only says 20 minutes. I think, oh, that should be okay. But once we get into energy, then we have to kind of go with the flow of energy. But thank you guys, and I'll see you all in a month's time. Night, guys.